Today we get to talk to a mom who has a child in a school in Kingston, Massachusetts, and they are dealing with a big problem in their schools because they have all of these illegal alien children coming into their schools, causing a lot of behavioral problems and other issues. And her daughter was actually personally affected by it. And today we get to talk to Caitlin and hear her story. So welcome, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell me about a little bit background about your daughter, the school, and what happened.
So my daughter was in first grade when this happened in 2021. One night we received a bunch of immigrants to our town in a hotel, which is conveniently right across the street from the school. And none of them spoke any English. And my daughter was going to the bathroom, which she has to leave the classroom to go to. She went to the bathroom, had her pants down, and this other student went under the stall while my daughter's pants were down, and she pushed her off and started yelling at her in another language. So she put her hand up and said, "Stop, stop." She finally fought her way out, and she got out of the stall, and the girl pushed her to the ground, and then she started kissing her. I guess in the school's telling me in their culture, that's the way they apologize. So after that, my daughter went back to the classroom. Her teacher saw that she was bright red and very upset. She told the teacher exactly what happened. They got the principal. The principal went down to the bathroom with my daughter and showed her exactly what happened. They contacted me immediately. I went and picked her up from school. And then the school followed up with me the next day. Come to find out, the student was still in the same classroom the next day. They didn't remove the student. So when I found out that the student was still there, I went to school and picked up my daughter. And I said, my daughter's not going back to school until the student is removed.
It's terrible that this happened to you and your daughter. So just so I understand, there's a hotel right next to the school that is currently filled up with illegal aliens.
Yeah, filled. You cannot. They've closed the hotel. It's now considered a shelter.
And do you see that there are more coming, like every week? Is the population increasing?
Yes, because I heard from a very good source that since they've been here, they've had over 25 babies at the hotel, and since they're born here, they're considered legal immigrants.
Oh, wow. And then all of these children are then going into all the schools, attending the schools on our taxpayer dime.
Correct.
So your daughter's school has a bunch of these criminal illegal aliens children attending, and sometimes causing harm. And your daughter was directly affected by that. And so when this happened, what did the school do, and what did they say?
So they put a safety plan in right away, which is great. I had spoken to one of my neighbors who's a local policeman, and he told me to file a police report right away. So we did that. My husband and I met with the superintendent, vice superintendent, the principal, assistant principal, the safety officer at the school that following week, and we went through the safety plan. So that was fine, but they kind of just made me not push it under the rug, but I just said to the superintendent of schools, I said, what are you going to do for this district so this doesn't happen to another kid? Because this shouldn't happen to a 6-year-old.
And what was his response?
She handed me the box of Kleenex and said that the principal can respond. But then here we are now, because the safety plan she went after her again, second time.
What happened second time?
So this was right before Thanksgiving. Was at her cubby in the second grade hallway, and she was passing by and was getting something, and she pushed into the cubby and said something to her in another language and didn't know. So then we had to do an addendum to the safety plan, which I had to wet sign, but her parents, who I don't know if she has parents, I don't know who she's here with, They didn't have to sign it, but I had to sign it.
So basically, the superintendent tells you that their whole plan is that this girl is not going to be able to walk near your student and just shove the whole thing under the rug.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah. And then now my daughter is showing severe signs of anxiety. I just had teacher conferences last week, and she told me that is always looking behind her back, and that she's very hyper vigilant in the hallway, clings to the teacher. I mean, I took $5,000 out of my 401k to get a lawyer because I will do anything for my kids. I've reached out to everyone at the state house, emails, phone calls. I complained to the Attorney General's office. Nobody returns my calls. I'm pushing it, just getting nowhere.
And it's entirely preventable. I mean, Biden just has to close the border. I mean,
yeah. 100%. Yeah, close the border, but they're not. And then we're the ones suffering. My daughter's suffering. We're suffering. You know, this is 2024, and the student is still 3 doors down from my daughter. I don't sleep at night. I cringe when she gets on the bus. We gave her a watch so she can text me. And I told the teacher and the principal, I said, she has this watch on. If she makes her feel safe, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And not only that, is my husband just came from overseas 2 years ago as well. Like, he supports this country. He puts his body on the line for this country. And this is the thanks we're going to get. No, I can't. I'll go poor until I get this kid out of the school. But at this point, I don't feel safe sending any of my children there. Any of my children.
And you reached out to you said like council members, attorney general, like nothing. Didn't hear a word. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. So we got another wave of immigrants, and one of the students got put in to my daughter's class. And this other immigrant looked exactly like the perpetrator, and she stole from the teacher and she stole from my daughter. So the school had restrictions on my daughter. In order for her to not see the perpetrator in the hallway, they would hold her back at bus time. So my daughter had to wait in the classroom with the teacher while all her fellow students went on the bus or their parents picked them up, and she would stay next to the teacher so she wouldn't see this other student walk by.
So they're putting the criminal illegal alien first before your daughter, who's Correct. Been living in this town for years.
Yep. So thankfully they removed the restraints like from and put it on the perpetrator, which it should have been like that from the beginning. My daughter didn't do anything wrong. Why should she be penalized from doing things that, you know, she should be able to do in a school setting?
It's just completely disgraceful that they are putting criminal illegal aliens' needs before Americans. And these are children, like our children. It's harming our children in so many ways. And it affected you personally. And I think this was one of the hardest interviews I've ever done. It's so heartbreaking. And you can't deny anymore. You can't deny what's going on. This is madness. It has to stop.
It's bad. And when I wrote to the House, they sent it to our senator for our district, and she said, it sounds like you're doing everything right. Sorry this happened to your daughter. And I wrote back, what? Like, what are you going to do for this district to make this not happen again? What are you going to do? And she said she was going to bring it to the secretary and the governor, but I followed up last week and I said, have you gotten anywhere? And she's like, well, I heard you have a lawyer. We don't want to double dip. Nobody's double dipping. No one's helping me at all. This is like the only thing I've had like so far. Like, I've gotten nothing.
Have you spoken to other parents in your daughter's school or in the district, in the area? And has there been a lot of talk about other issues going on in the schools ever since these children started attending?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was an instance that happened in 5th grade, which is at the intermediate school, where one of them, the immigrants, supposedly brought a knife and went after another one of the our kids, and again brushed under the rug. It wasn't really talked about, but They do put their hands on other kids. They're very behavioral. Our kids are getting pushed aside for these children because they need these extra services. But again, like this is a bigger issue. This is the borders. This isn't going to go away. But my kid is so deserving of having a good career, a good education. We moved here because of good school systems, and they came overnight and have taken over our town.
Caitlin, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. I hope something could happen. I hope something could get resolved as a result of shining light on this. It's just absolutely awful.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate everything.